Today we're going to do section 8.5 in your book. We're going to be talking about different kinds of angles that we get and how we can use trig to help us solve for missing sides using those acute angles. So we're going to be looking at word problems or real-life world problems where there's something called a line of sight. You have someone or something that's looking up, in this case, or down at something. We call that the line of sight. So here somebody's in this house looking up the top of the cliff, and this is their line of sight. Notice the line of sight is the hypotenuse of the right triangle. The angle of elevation is made by the line of sight, or the hypotenuse, and the horizontal side. That's very, very, very important that you understand that an angle of elevation is always the horizontal side. So angle B is not an angle of elevation. You want to try to ignore the word elevation, or in the next one we're going to look at the word depression, because that makes us think that an angle of elevation or an angle of depression has to go up or down, depending on how we draw our triangle. For example, if I had drawn triangle DAB in here instead, my angle of elevation would actually be angle ABD. Even though it looks like that's looking down from here, I have to use the angle in the triangle that has a horizontal side. So that is very, very important to remember. Same thing here for the angle of depression. Here I have someone who is looking down at an object. The angle of depression is made by the line of sight and once again the horizontal side. So the angle of depression that's in the triangle that's actually drawn would be angle DCA. Always, the angle of elevation or the angle of depression is the line of sight and the horizontal side of your triangle. As you can see, the angle of depression and the angle of elevation in those pictures are congruent because they are alternate interior angles. If I look here, angle BAC and angle CAD are congruent because these two segments are parallel to each other. This is a transversal, so this angle and this angle have to be congruent to each other. Same in this picture here. This line and this line are parallel. BD is a transversal, so this angle, angle CDB, and angle ABD are congruent to each other. So if you only draw your triangle in your picture and you don't draw this extra line, which is perfectly fine, you will never go wrong choosing your angle of elevation or depression if you always pick the angle made by the hypotenuse and the horizontal side.